Mr. Nabil Shahi. His experience spans equipment research, design, testing, and manufacturing with a deep understanding of international HVAC regulations and standards in US, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Holding a postgraduate degree in mechanical engineering from Tennessee State University, USA, Mr. Shaheen is HVAC professional, driving innovation and excellence in MENA region and across multiple continents. Today, Mr. Nabil will briefly overview us about regulatory standards and certifications for driving the adoption of energy-efficient HVACR technologies. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Nabil.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my honor to be here with you guys, joining this very important discussion. The title of my presentation is Driving the Adoption of Energy-Efficient HVAC Technologies. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about AHRI, just a quick introduction. AHRI is a not-for-profit organization. We are basically a manufacturing association that represents most of the HVAC manufacturers around in the US and around the world. We have about 330 international members and 1,000 licensee. We also generate and produce standards and guidelines. We have over 165 standards and guidelines. We have certification programs, also about 40 plus. We cover basically all aspects of HVAC&R. We cover applied, like, for example, large chillers. We cover unitary products or like DX or regular air conditions. We also cover commercial refrigerations and also heating, including water heating. So all aspects of HVAC that's involved in whether it's commercial, residential, or industrial buildings. We also have other activities. We have the annual AHR event that happens once in the US. It's the biggest HVAC conference in the world. We also have a sister organization called NATE, which is North America Technician Excellence, which is a technician training and certification program that's been mainly used in the US and recently is starting to be used in the Middle East region and in the future India. We also work with the regulatory bodies in the region, like SASO, for example, in Saudi Arabia. In India, we also work with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency and others. In the Middle East region, we also chair the HVAC committee for the GCC National Regulation, or GSO. We also have a research institute, which is AHRTI, that does a lot of research on energy efficiency, latest technology, refrigerants, and others. We work also with the UN. One of our most recent programs that we just launched recently is the refrigerant driver's licenses, which helps developing countries transition to new refrigerants that is more environmentally friendly. And we also work as the arm of the US, Federal Regulation and Department of Energy in enforcing HVAC regulations in the US. So jumping into the topic, we all hear these buzzwords that you see on the screen now, and these are the challenges that we're all facing: decarbonization, climate change, energy efficiency, supply chain, whether it's from China or whether it's due to the war in the Middle East, and also the workforce that we need to train more people to be working in the field of energy efficiency and building efficiency and so on. And also, indoor air quality that we got hit with after the pandemic. So all these things affect HVAC and energy consumption. And we all know that the global demand for HVAC is growing because of warming climates that we all feel. We have aging population. We have now better medical care and medicine. So average age is growing. Urbanization, digitalization, and growing middle class. We see that in India a lot, and also growing cities in Asia and the Middle East. This is all creating a big demand on HVAC. So, for example, in 2023, this is according to International Energy Agency, this graph, you can see here, for example, in the Middle East, in 2023, there are 65 million units installed, air conditioned units, and they're expecting that number to go to 63 million is going to go to 210 million by 2050. So over 3 times as much as we have units installed today. And you can see here the graph is the same thing for India. India, I think penetration rate in residential today is less than 10%. And by 2050, because India is growing economically and the middle class also is growing vastly, so it's going to also increase by more than 2 to 3 times as well. As you know, air conditions, work heating and cooling. In our regions here, we use them mostly for cooling, and this depends on the the different climate zones in the world. So according to ASHRAE 169, there are 19 climate zones. The temperature is or how cold. So, for example, in the Middle East, we have some of the hottest temperatures, which is zoned as 0A, 0B, which is extremely hot, humid, extremely dry. This means that air conditions consumes a lot of electricity and produce a lot of carbon. So, for example, an average villa in the Middle East or the GCC region consumes on average of 67% electricity from the residential building. So it's the bulk of the electricity consumption. And since the countries in the Middle East are not highly industrial, most of the consumption is residential. So 50% of the electric consumption goes to 50% is residential, and the rest is industrial, commercial, and governmental, etc. So it's important basically to have energy efficient products in the market and also make sure that our buildings are efficient. AHRI takes care of basically the efficiency of equipment, but we also need to take care of the building envelope to make sure that we have proper insulation, so our building efficiency are also good. So how to improve energy consumption is basically like Jitendra said, it takes a lot of factors. Behavioral factor is very important, but also, the technology usually comes from manufacturers. So we have a lot of available technology today in the market, inverter industry or variable speed, motors or compressors. And we have now a lot of new areas, especially in terms of data collection and artificial intelligence and smart thermostats, etc. So the technology comes from manufacturers, and also we have to have the authority help us in raising the bar in terms of minimum energy efficiency requirements. So a lot of the governments relatively recently in this region starting establishing MEPS, minimum energy performance standards, to make sure that only high quality products makes it to the market here. But it's also very important to educate the end users and consumers, as my previous speaker covered. So it's basically having proper standards that can measure accurately energy consumption, surveillance programs or certification program, and enforcement is very important to control energy consumptions. I want to switch here a little bit to the international or UN conferences. You all remember the Paris Agreement that happened back in 2015, which was covering global warming. The agreement was basically targeting to control the global warming by 2 degrees Celsius, preferably by 1.5 degree. We're already seeing temperature has already raised by 1.2, so we're well ahead of our target. So if we maintain the current status quo, global warming will continue to rise and exceed 2 degrees by 2050. So we were very lucky actually to be in Dubai. Last year we had COP28 taking place in Dubai, so we attended that. And one of the main topics that were covered in the event was global cooling background. Globally, conventional cooling contributes up to 10% of greenhouse gas effect and 20% of the electricity consumption globally, not just in the Middle East or India. So it's very important. At the end of the event, there was a very important agreement that was called the Global Cooling Pledge that was signed by 63 countries and also was endorsed by a couple of major manufacturers like Carrier and Daikin. And the gist of the agreement was to improve energy efficiency standards by the governments by 50% by 2030 compared to the 2021-22 levels. So we know that the technology is available in the market. So we're going to see countries here in the region increasing energy efficiency standards to make sure that the minimum energy requirements are going up by 50% by 2030. And to do that, as AHRI, we're helping the governments draft new regulations and adopt AHRI standards. So for that, we have created, for the first time ever, an AHRI MENA standard subcommittee that basically consists of members from not just the industry, but also from consulting firms, academia, government. So basically drafting or tailoring standards that are specific for this region. We have multiple committees right now that we have created covering unitary, chillers, VRF, and air handling units. And we are on the verge of basically producing the first regional standard by the unitary team that will be rolled out in the next few weeks and adopted by the regional countries. This is it for me, and thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'll be looking forward for the discussion later.
Thank you, Mr. Nabil, for sharing and highlighting the significance of energy efficient HVAC at